We move on to labour matters now. The National Union of Metalworkers says the stagnant wages along with the rising cost of living have pushed workers below the breadline. Numsa stated this as the basis for its demand for a 10% pay hike for its members in the motor sector. The union that represents more than 400,000 workers has entered into the first round of wage talks in this sector. Numsa spokesperson Phakamile Hlubi-Majola joins us for this discussion. Thank you so much for your time, Phakamile. Let's first discuss the grounds for that 10% wage hike. How is it justified?
Good afternoon, Tumisang. Good afternoon to your viewers, and thank you so much for having me on your show. As a trade union, we are obviously conscious of the really dire economic situation facing our members. If you look at, for example, the research that was released by the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group, which states that the average worker spends 57% of their income just on transportation and electricity alone. They don't even have enough money to buy food. At the same time, according to Stats SA, out of the 13 million or so workers who are employed, half of that earn less than 5,400 Rand a month. And certainly our members represent those that fall into that bracket. And so this is why the demand is for a meaningful increase, and the demand is a 10% increase across the board.
A meaningful increase is how you describe it, but how have employers received this particular demand, given that they too, within this sector, are facing quite a number of challenges?
Yes, indeed. I think we are not naive. We're aware of the fact that the conditions this time around are definitely not easy. They're not ideal. At the end of the day, we are a trade union. We have to put our members' demands, our members' interests and their conditions first. And the situation is that even though the economy is poor now, there have been many, many periods when the economy was doing well, and at no time did workers benefit from that. So our members form part of the population that have been experiencing severe austerity. They feel the pinch of the crippling cost of living every single day, and this has been their life really for decades now. So negotiations is just that, they're negotiations. We have put our demands on the table. It's a give and take process, and we did present to the employer associations, the FRA and also the RMI last week. We can say that the attitude and the environment was cordial. We were engaging each other. And of course, we do hope to, at the end of the negotiations process, to find each other somewhere along the line in terms of our demands. So whilst we have demanded a multi-year agreement, 10% wage increase across the board, we've also demanded, for example, medical insurance across all the different sectors that we're negotiating, as well as a 70% contribution for short time. The response from the employers was that they want to give us an inflation-based increase, so they're talking about a 3% increase. In the case of the RMI, they are offering a 5-year wage agreement, which as a union, we have a problem with. We don't have a problem with multi-year, but we do have a problem with a 5-year agreement. We think 5 years is too long.
Based on that issue that is still contentious, then what happens if you do not reach agreement within the time frame of the first phase of these negotiations? How far is the union willing to go on this one?
We try not to go, especially early on at this stage. We are not eager to sort of make, suggestions of striking, because as you know, we've been on strike before. We went on strike we were on strike in the last round of wage talks. We would like to prevent that. We think that we can find each other, and we remain hopeful about finding each other in this round of negotiations.
Lastly, on an unrelated matter, but one that also impacts the workers within the motor industry, Numsa's concerns around how the motor, along with other manufacturing aspects, will be impacted by these U.S. tariffs.
We did have a National Bargaining Conference late in March where we actually did discuss at that time the tariffs had not been imposed, but it was already a threat that was hanging over our heads. And our position as a union is that we are, of course, very concerned about what's happening in the geopolitical space. It is likely to make negotiations more difficult and more challenging. However, we remain, first of all, we support the South African government's position. We support the fact that they are trying the best that they can to try and find a solution to this. We know that the reason that we actually are being attacked as a country is because South Africa took a moral stance on the issue of Palestine. And as a union, we wholeheartedly support the South African government's decision to defend Palestine. We think it was the right thing to do. And we hope that this matter will be resolved. We do also, though, feel that perhaps it is time, and I mean, there have been, even in the NBC, some of the debates that were arising were around the fact that as a country, we should be perhaps looking at other markets, looking at strengthening relations with partners on the continent. And also we're a member of BRICS. So perhaps we should be looking to strengthening ties within BRICS as well. Those were some of the things that were coming up during the discussions of the NBC. But we certainly have faith in the South African government to try and assist us to navigate these choppy waters.
Thank you so much for having given us your time. Phakamile Hlubi-Majola is the spokesperson of Numsa. They're talking about the first round of wage negotiations within the motor sector. The demand there is for a 10% wage increase.